completed in Tiko subdivision. An elected national coordinator of the DDR Center has visited the structure under construction in Miselele. Beware of danger in the streets. Young holidaymakers involved in hawking as activity. In tonight's newscast, we probe into some of the risks young street hawkers are exposed to in the nation's capital. Those were our headlines. Good evening and thanks for joining us on the Primetime News. I am Freddie Etabisong. Stay on.
Despite our efforts, COVID-19 plunged many families into mourning and seriously hampered the functioning of our economy and society.
Welcome back. The Musgum and Arab Shua communities in the Logon and Shari division in the far north region have been dissuaded from listening to manipulators on the social media, urging them to shed blood, but instead to promote peace and unity among themselves. This was one of the resolutions arrived at in Kuseri during a crisis meeting the governor of the far north region held with traditional and religious authorities, civil society organizations, and local elite. Mijiawa Bakari cautioned that masterminds behind senseless conflicts are liable to be punished by the law. Sylvester Temken has the story from Kuseri.
Since the outbreak of what started as a conflict between individuals in Logon, Benin, local administrative officials have been relentless in their efforts to restore peace. This explains why Governor Mijawa Bakari has involved traditional authorities in his appeasement mission to Logon, Benin to put an end to the conflict between the Arab Shuas and Musgums.
I came with the voice of all the deep South Cameroon to call for peace, to call for understanding.
The local elites and opinion leaders have re-echoed togetherness.
Musgums and Arab Shuas and other communities like Kotokos and Kanuris, we are going to sit together and find a solution for this problem.
Meanwhile, religious leaders, as part of civil society, have been active in the battle against violent extremism.
We call them to come together and to build the peace in dialogue, frank dialogue.
The occasion was equally an opportunity for the governor of the far north region to harp on the head of state's vision of Pacific cohabitation.
The message we have is the message of peace, of the willing of living together. It is a social professional conflict. Between on one side you have fishermen, on another side you have cattle brother. Minepia, we have already solution.
The 4-day standoff between Musgums and Arab Shuas has forced many to flee, some killed, homes burnt, and herds of cattle exterminated.
Elsewhere, construction works on the site to host the Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration Center for the Southwest region in Miselele Tiko subdivision is 65% complete. With 4 buildings already roofed and several others taking shape, it was an elected national coordinator of the DDR Center that toured the structure. Fayango Francis has saluted the professionalism of the contractors while calling on those still in the bushes to lay down their arms and join the center. Emmanuela Vemnyoy reports from Tiko.
4 buildings near completion, lots more taking shape, with a fence securing the entire 12-hectare project site in Miselele Tiko subdivision 5 months after launch. The national coordinator of the Disarmament, Demobilization and Reintegration of Ex-Combatants seems pleased by the fast pace of work.
I'm very pleased today to see the structures that have been put in place already. We visited them. I would like to send a message to the children who are already out of the bushes, that they should be proud that the head of state promised this infrastructure and it is there. 6
dormitories, an infirmary, a refectory, a chapel, workshops, among others. The contractors rate the execution at 65%, confident of meeting the October deadline.
For the 30th of October, the project will be done. The only thing we will have to do at the end is the external work with the stadium, with the road.
Upon completion, it will ameliorate the living conditions of the 227 ex-combatants currently lodged in Boya. Time again to stretch a hand of solidarity.
There are evil forces, forces of the dark, who are at the same time telling them, don't go because they will kill you, they will imprison you, and so on. But I want to say that since these children started coming out, none of them has been killed. None of them has been imprisoned. So these Cameroonians should join us so that we continue with the sensitization drive.
The 1,000 capacity DDR Center for the Southwest costs close to 2 billion CFA francs.
Elsewhere, 320 peacekeeping officers constitute the 8th contingent of Cameroonian troops dispatched to the United Nations Multidimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in the Central African Republic. Lieutenant General Daniel Sidiki Traoré, the first commander of MINUSCA, has encouraged the troops to be disciplined and to contribute towards advancing peace. Fomso Ives has details of that report.
A foretaste of challenges to come. An angry mob is dispersed by riot control officers. Some of the hurdles they are likely to meet in the Central African Republic. Within just 6 weeks at the Advanced Training Center in Law Enforcement Techniques, AWAI, they now have skills to do much more in contributing to advance the peace process in CAR.
They have been trained on the public order management, the VIP protection, and all the training which can make them be able to perform.
On the guided tour led by Brigadier General Daniel Okobinjok, an amazed visiting force commander of MINUSCA reminds peacekeeping officers of their missions.
I want them to have a robust mindset because I'm sure Cameroon has already given to them good equipment. They got also good training. So the country has done its part. It's remained now for them to play their role. And I'm confident in them. I'm quite sure they will succeed.
140 will serve in Bangui 180 in Bois as MINUSCA police component for a one-year period with target to protect the population from diverse threats while keeping civilians unharmed.
Officials of the Ministry of Trade have embarked on a campaign to fight against unscrupulous business practices which have led to the unauthorized increase in the prices of some essential goods. The exercise follows discussions with distributors to raise awareness on the need to check activities which are putting pressure on the purchasing power of inhabitants. Clarice Aritakang reports.
Their presence was unexpected, giving wholesalers and retailers little time to wriggle their way out of any unscrupulous practices. Officials of the Ministry of Trade are at work to fish out vendors whose activities have put pressure on consumers' pockets. Amongst the main items targeted are foodstuff and construction materials sold in different markets, a variety of which are said to have witnessed price hikes, raising fears of hoarding.
This time, we will go till the end because we are every day on the field, but the traders don't want to respect the law. And now we will be obliged to seize and to close their shop in order to bring everyone to respect the law.
Bags of rice stored in unusual places with no credible explanations put forward. The team from the Control Brigade passed across the message of the government not being party to any actions which undermine efforts to keep the cost of living affordable for most. The exercise will be intensified as the countdown to the start of the new school year narrows.
Meanwhile, the sales of books, bags and other school items is gaining fame in Yaoundé as the new academic year draws closer. Buyers and sellers are expressing satisfaction with the quantity available this far as prices have considerably dropped in bookshops and other sales points. Romeo Kenyi was there and now reports.
The new school year is fast approaching, and the Yaoundé Central Market is jammed to capacity with didactic material. Along its streets, prices of school bags are between 5,000 and 20,000 francs CFA. In this bookshop, supply is in quantity and quality. Elsewhere, promotional sales attract customers.
We've just come to buy some books, all the things, bags and so on. But now, in my short list, I have around 85%. This is already. So for the next week, I will pass again to try if it's available. I try to buy one thing one day, and tomorrow we hope that it will be better. The same price like the Ministry of Sales.
Aside the primary and secondary, kindergarten school needs are also on the scale of preference.
At the level of readers, we have some some 80% of supply. Prices have been changed also. For bags, we are not for us here, our prices are very affordable because we sell in box. We sell in large quantities. What makes us not to be, we are not like those who buy and sell. It's those who buy and sell who make those prices to be more high and make parents to complain.
In all, no artificial scarcity has been announced yet. The demand and supply process is ongoing unperturbed.
Some pupils and students across the country are usually involved in petty trading in order to raise money which would help their parents prepare back to school. These kids are, however, often exposed to some risk linked to the nature of the activity. Gilbert Ongene took interest in some of these risks the children are exposed to in the streets of Yaoundé and put together the following report.
They all bring back money at the end of each day, these children carrying out petty trade in the streets of Yaoundé. But at what cost? Divine, Damas, and Dylan say they are often victims of bullying, assault, theft, and at times road accidents and sexual abuse.
We are exposed to accidents and other risks, so we must take some precautions. For example, when I want to cross the road, I must look left and right before.
This explains why each time they leave home, they are always cautioned by their parents and guardians to avoid places and persons who could expose them to such risk.
My parents always tell me to avoid dangerous neighborhoods because during holidays, there are bad people who assault and sometimes kidnap children.
All said and done, these children and their parents are aware of the dangers they are exposed to while struggling to raise money from petty trade to support back to school preparations. But most often, since they have no other options, they are obliged to face this risk head on in order to be sure of having all their school needs and be in class with their peers once classes resume in September.
In the North region, aspiring software and network system engineers today sat the competitive entrance examination into the African Institute of Computer Sciences, IAI. The examination took place in Garoua in the presence of the resident representative of IAI Cameroon, Armand-Claude Abanda, on a working visit to the North regional capital. Wilson Mengole reports from Garoua.
120 of the 1,213 persons availed of the opportunity to be drilled on information and communication technology by the Garoua City Council and trained in the course of 6 months by the African Institute for Computer Sciences, made possible by an agreement made up the first wave to receive their end of course certificates this Thursday, August the 12th in Garoua. The badge was christened after the Garoua City Mayor, Dr. Usmaila Mohamedou, who stated the goal of this scheme was to further the accomplishment of the design of Cameroon's First Lady Chantal Biya of empowering 1 million youths, women and children to become computer literate by 2035. The trainees were cautioned on the need for the wholesome and profitable use of the knowledge and tools acquired, especially the internet, in a world where these are indispensable.
It is not possible today to do anything without new technology. I congratulate the new mayor of Garoua for his initiative.
The resident representative of the African Institute for Computer Sciences, Armand-Claude Abanda, promised a continuity of the initiative with a training opportunity offered to 50 persons of the Lamida of Garoua to aid in modernizing the performance and impact of the traditional authority.
You are watching the primetime news on CRTV in Yaoundé. We go over to the northwest where the 2021 International Youth Day is observed at a time when a good number of young persons in the region are facing acute unemployment worsened by the ongoing socio-political crisis. Despite the hard times brought about by the turbulent atmosphere, some youths in the region have engaged themselves in a host of technical works in a bid to earn a living. Julius Neba visited some of these workshops in Bamenda and filed in the following report.
Along some major streets of Bamenda town, a good number of young persons as young as 15 can be seen working from morning to evening at construction material sites, glasswork and welding workshops, tire repairs and motor mechanics, with most of them repairing bikes, to name but these. One of them, who has already dropped out of school at the age of 24, is a father of one and says he has no choice than to work hard and care for his family.
Most of us youth today, we stay at home doing wrong things. So I decided to do the job. Because without a job, I cannot feed myself, I cannot pay my house rent.
Berin Jomen, who is still fine-tuning her skills in electrical and power engineering, encourages other young girls to keep themselves from stereotypes like this or that is a man's job.
There are a lot of fields, not just electricity, mechanics, automobile, mechatronics and all of that. I'm a woman, but I'm doing it. So if I can do it, why won't you?
The youngsters strongly believe that parents are the ones to primarily encourage their children to engage themselves in one of the plethora of technical fields that offers them informal employment opportunities.
On to religion now. Preparations are being intensified within churches ahead of the Feast of Assumption to be observed tomorrow, Sunday, August 15. Christians are involved in both spiritual and physical preparations by multiplying prayer sessions and the proper cleaning of the church premises to give the celebration its grandeur. Clarence Gay made a tour of some worship houses in Yaoundé. His report.
A busy day for Christians of St. Peter and Paul Parish Fundasi. The faithful, under the coordination of the parish priest, retouched every part of the church ahead of Sunday's celebration. Despite ensuring thorough clean-up, the parish priest affirmed that the spiritual aspect of the feast is of prime importance.
Feast of Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary defined the dogma of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary at the end of her earthly life.
Other added to the parish, just like Ngoso, every Christian was occupied with a task in order to meet up with the standards of the feast. Besides all these, COVID-19 barrier measures are in check. The Feast of Assumption marks the occasion of the Virgin Mary's bodily ascent to heaven at the end of her life.
On to a special weekend slot now. We are today scanning zoonotic diseases which are transmitted to humans by both domestic and wild animals and account for over 2 million people being infected yearly. Examples of zoonotic diseases are rabies, bird flu, tapeworms, anthrax, Ebola, and most recently, coronavirus. There are about 200 of such diseases which have been identified as transmitted from animal to man. Let's look at the science, treatment, and prevention of zoonosis in this report by Beatrice Losamba.
From its name, derived from zoo, zoonosis suggests diseases transmitted from animal to man, mostly infectious diseases.
To date, the World Health Organization records about 200 zoonoses that have been discovered. Zoonotic diseases can include things like rabies, which are transmitted by dog bites, the tapeworm, which is transmitted by the pork meat, that's a pig, the bird flu, transmitted from birds, Ebola, which were found to be caused by contact with wild animals, bats, and so on. And we have the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic.
The signs and symptoms are as varied as the germs that cause the disease: bacteria, virus, parasite.
Rabies will cause neurological symptoms. Things like tapeworm, the Taenia solium will cause digestive symptoms. The COVID-19, we all know, causes lung problems, same as anthrax, which is also a zoonotic disease.
Treatments vary from antibiotics to antiparasitic drugs and even vaccines. But scientists have found a multidisciplinary approach
most effective?
From the pets we keep in the house, making sure they are healthy so that they will not have any parasite to transmit to us. Agricultural experts who grow these things for us to put on the market also need to comply to some rules.
Despite the treatment options, 13 zoonotic diseases are responsible for the death of 2.2 million people yearly, and by these, beg to be taken seriously.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms.
Most people wishing to travel out of the country have been complaining about difficulties they face having access to their online COVID-19 results. But how does this work, and what do they need to know about online COVID-19 results? Let's join Baldwin Sama and his guest, Dr. Joseph Fokam, at the Public Health Emergency Center with updates. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Freddy Tabison. Actually, it remains a major concern for most persons who wish to travel out of the country these days. How possible is it for them to have access to their online COVID-19 results before traveling? Let's find out from our guest tonight, Dr. Joseph Fokam, who is a virologist. Good evening to you, doctor.
Good evening, Badi.
How is it possible for persons who wish to travel out of the country to have their online, to have access to their online COVID-19 PCR results?
Effectively, Bardin, to ensure easy access to COVID-19 results, especially with regards to travels, while respecting barrier measures, we have in place an online system whereby every individual can easily enter his password and get access to his result. Actually, in Yaoundé, as a matter of fact, we have two major platforms, the 3MS, where in this 3MS system, you need to enter exactly your ID number, and with this ID number, you will directly get access to your result. Or we also have the placard system, whereby you receive an SMS, and in this SMS, you have a code that will give you access to your result. And what happens is that people at times doesn't really know how to use or to go through this platform. So we really advise that when you are going for a sample collection, please try to get advice. One, which system is going to be used for your own result, and two, how does this system function? It's quite easy once you get those explanations, and we believe this will ease access to result and minimize risks of missing flights.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Fokam, for that reassurance. Don't forget to get information when you go for your sample collection as to how possible it will be for you to have access to which method you have your results before you travel out of the country. Back to you, Freddy Tabison.
Thank you, Baldwin, for those essential updates. Tonight, we read a book, The Return, authored by Jude Berignoué. The literary piece recounts life in a community known as Kmer in the northwest region of Cameroon, where locals are very attached to their customs and traditions. Published by Nya Publishers, the book reminds its readers to preserve their culture against all odds. Emanuela Venyoy read the book for the 7:30 News tonight.
At a time when modernism and Western lifestyle is taking a toll on Cameroonian youth through its tradition, customs, and way of life, the return becomes that voice calling out to Cameroonians not to depart from their roots and their identity.
No matter who we are, no matter what we become or who we become, our identity, which is rooted in our culture and tradition, has to be respected. We must always fall back to where we come from, because that is what gives us a personality that others can respect.
10 years of research and consultations to pen down this 124-page book, with the author using the people of Mbiame in northwest region of Cameroon as characters in an environment full of challenges like youth unemployment.
Youth have to understand that in as much as there is a will to employ everybody, not everybody can be employed by the government. They need to create jobs for self-employment or get to other sectors that can make them earn a living.
Written in simple English as to make reading easy for all, the return also treats issues like youth delinquency, recklessness, and other ills young people should depart from.
Anyone who can read English language and understand can read the return. It can be taught in secondary school, it can be taught in high school, or even at the level of the university.
Published by Nya Publishers, The Return is authored by Jude Berignoy, who hails from Biami Northwest region of Cameroon, holder of PhD in English from the University of Yaoundé 1. He is a playwright and an actor.
And that's why.
On to politics now. CPDM supporters, especially candidates vying for positions of the renewed structures of the CPDM party in Lekye East constituency, that is Obala, have been urged to respect all guidelines spelled out in the circular by its national president, Paul Biya. The call came from Professor Janvier Onana, representative of CPDM head of operations for Obala, Minister Bidung Bat. This was in a meeting to officially launch activities to renew the executives of the basic organs of the party. Clarence Gay with details of the report.
The ball has been set rolling for the renewal of basic organs and specialized organizations of the CPDM party in Obala, Lekye division of the Central Region. In his address, the representative of Minister Bidung Kwat, head of operations for the renewal exercise, Professor Janvier Onana, challenged the aspirants not to fall short of the directives of the circular by its national president, Paul Biya. For his part, the chair of the Electoral Commission for the Operations, Professor Fudan Jodo Marcel, reminded the supporters to show humility and maturity as the party is experiencing a rebirth. This in order to always remain victorious.
I have forwarded the instruction of the hierarchy of the party to the militant for them to be very professional, a lot of professionalism in the conduct of the electoral operation. And they must also be aware of all the challenges of the party at this time of its development, where the competition, electoral competition, is very tough with other political parties.
For 6 weeks, 30 local commissions supervised by the Electoral Commission for Lekye East will be in charge of the renewal process. The revamping of the basic and the specialized organs of the CPDM party is in conformity with its constitution ahead of future elections. The exercise that was officially launched nationwide last August 7 will run till September 30, 2021. The last renewal exercise within the party was in 2015.
Elsewhere, CPDM adherents of the FACO 3 section in Buea have launched the process of the renewal of the basic organs of the party. This was during a preparatory meeting chaired by the president of the Reorganization Committee, Senator Lionel Fonderson. Details with Fem Bonui Aise from CRTV Southwest in Buea.
Members of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement Party, the CPDM, for the FACO 3 section converged on the Youth Empowerment Center in Buea for the renewal of executives of the party's basic organs. Senator Lionel Fonderson, president of the Reorganization Committee, chaired the deliberations.
We held this meeting today with all the militants concerned in order for them to be abreast with the National President Circular and the note from the Secretary General and all the other modalities that are involved in this reorganization exercise. People were very, very constructive and very, very disciplined and patient, which means that it shows the enthusiasm which some of the militants have to make sure that the party moves ahead.
During the meeting, CPDM FACO 3 members were exhorted to conform to the party's prescriptions and respect the calendar of activities.
We have come out with a calendar of activities because the candidates have to understand that we have deadlines for all the various operations involved in this exercise.
The proclamation of results for the first phase of the reorganization of the basic organs of the CPDM for FACO 3 is expected latest August 30th, 2021.
In the far north, the head of CPDM Control Commission of Mayo Sava has expressed optimism in the conduct of the elections to renew the bureaus of the basic organs of the party in that division. The Honorable Julien Bakar made the observation in Mora while launching the operation to be relayed in all the sections of the party. Ayuk John Ashu completes that story from Marwa.
The efficiency of executive bureaus of the basic organs of the CPDM Mayo-Sava division has over the years been outstanding, judging from the party's solo occupation of the political terrain in the division. Enough reason for the head of the Divisional Control Commission to express optimism that the renewal of bureaus in Mora, Kolofata and Tokombere would be a smooth ride.
We are sure that for the renewal will be very, very easy here. No problem for Mayo-Sava.
All the same, and for double assurance, he handed down directives from the party's hierarchy and exchanged with his comrades on the conduct of the in-house process. In the presence of the CPDM cadres of Mayo-Sava division, traditional rulers and grassroots supporters, Honorable Barra coordinated a spontaneous fundraising to facilitate the deployment of supervisory teams.
We now talk sports, where the Confederation of African Football has published the calendar of matches for the 2021 AFCON, with a total number of 52 matches to be played on 6 different stadia from January 9 to February 6, 2022. According to the calendar, the opening ceremony and matches will be played at the Yaoundé Olembe Stadium. Details with Baldwin Sama.
It will be an exciting edition of the Africa Cup of Nations with a total number of 52 matches to be played on 6 different stadia. During the first round of the competition, to run from January 9 to 20, 36 matches will be played just after the official opening ceremony on January 9 at the Olembe Stadium. 5 group matches will be played at Olembe Stadium, with 7 programs for the Amadou Ahidjo Stadium. 6 group matches for the Limbe Omnisport Stadium, 1 each for the Bafoussam, Japoma and Garoua Stadia respectively. During the second round of the competition, to run from January 21 to February 16, 16 matches will be played, with a round of 16 to run from January 21 to 22, with Olembe, Amadou Ahidjo, Japoma and Garoua Stadia to each have a match, while the Limbe and Bafoussam Stadia will each host 2 8-final games. The quarterfinals will be played from January 27 to 28, 1 each at Olembe and Garoua Stadium, with 2 at the Japoma Stadium. Meanwhile, the third place match will be played at the Amadou Ahidjo Stadium same day, with the grand finale and the closing ceremony at the Olembe Stadium on February 6, 2022.
And that AFCON report brings a wrap to our newscast tonight. Thanks for choosing to watch news on CRTV. More news is coming up at 8:30 p.m. with Atta Badin Omar. The entire production crew join me to wish you a splendid evening, and we shall be back with more tomorrow. Good night.
Despite our efforts, COVID-19 plunged many families into mourning and seriously hampered the functioning of our economy and society.
Passe au level supérieur. Jusqu'au 25 août, souscris à ton bonus poids lourd au dièse 111 étoile 0 dièse et win la nouvelle PS pour vivre tes vacances de rêve avec Orange.
Orange.